Welcome back, everyone, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki. This is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. Today, it's episode 19, where we will be talking Furiosa. I hope you've had a great week. It is Saturday, May 25th when I'm recording this. This will come out on the Monday, of course. Happy Memorial Day to everyone in the States. I believe it's Memorial Day. Is that what this is? It's been a great week. I've been to the movies twice this week already. My dissertation has been officially published. This morning, Manchester United won the FA Cup, so it's great. We've won a trophy 2 seasons in a row. I guess I don't really talk about sports a lot on this podcast because it is like a film, TV show, and entertainment, but like sports are entertainment. So I've said before, but I'm a Manchester United fan, and it's been a really shit season, but we've ended it with the FA Cup. So yes, it's been a good week already. I've been enjoying my weekend. Did some couple hours of landscaping today, picking up some sticks in the yard, enjoying time outside with my dog. I'm reading Dune Messiah, and it's really great. I'm about 150 pages in and really enjoying it. I have my coffee. We got lots of news to talk about. And speaking of Dune Messiah, let's get into our first piece of news. So the first piece of news, last week I talked about the Dune Prophecy casting. Well, about an hour after I finished recording, the Dune Prophecy trailer dropped. And I thought it was like just some casting news coming out. And then we get a full-on trailer and background, and we have a synopsis and everything. My immediate reactions to the trailer, absolutely, I loved it. Really cool. It feels very close to the movies world-wise. Like, I don't really see a huge aesthetic difference, which is great. Like, I feel like Denis Villeneuve would be happy that this show is existing and not feeling like, oh man, this is kind of tarnishing our IP or the IP that he's, established for kind of our generation. So the synopsis, a basic synopsis, is it's set 10,000 years before the ascension of Paul Atreides. Dune Prophecy follows 2 Harkonnen sisters as they combat forces that are threatening the future of humankind and establish the fabled sect that will become known as the Bene Gesserit. So the cast is really great. Everybody in it looks really awesome. It has Emily Watson, Travis Fimmel, Taboo, Olivia Williams, Mark Strong, who we also talked about last week, and then he's in The Penguin, but now he's in this as well. He's playing, I think he's Emperor Carino. I thought he was maybe an Atreides at first, but he is a Carino. We also have Josh Houston, Shirley Henderson, Alfie Hines, Jodie May. So a really good cast. I really like the design of the world. The CGI looks really good. Like, we see some ships and stuff like that. So I'm excited for more Dune. I don't think we're gonna get Dune Messiah for a while. I'll be honest. I've been thinking about it recently, and I'm like, I don't see us getting it in probably 4 years. What is it, 2024? I could see it coming out 2028. I'll let everybody get a little bit older because of the time jump, but it also depends how they're going to adapt things. I won't get into spoilers. All I'll say is, like, those who have read it will know everything that's happening in it. I'm excited to finish it. I'm going to try and finish it next weekend. I'm on page 140 something out of, it's only 344 pages, so I'm going to edit this episode like today and tomorrow, and then try and crunch a bunch tomorrow night, because I really want to read Children of Dune. It would be really cool this summer if I did crush all the books. I started the first Dune in like March, and they're really great books. I highly encourage people to read them. If you enjoy the movies, or even if you didn't enjoy the movies, I think the books, it's just really great writing. There's so much interesting philosophical things in it and political things, and it's just very potent to our times and a really great read. But anyways, let's get back to Dune Prophecy. My final thoughts, it looks really great. I really love the cast. Emily Watson in Chernobyl, of course. I loved her in that. Yeah, and it's HBO Max or Max, whatever. It looks really good. The production value looks very promising. I'm excited. I hope it's only like 6 to 8 episodes. I hope they keep it nice and tight, keep the story moving, because Shogun was 10 episodes, and honestly, it kind of lost me over the way. Speaking of Shogun, season 2 and season 3 they announced are in the works at FX Hulu, or FX/Hulu, which, I mean, isn't season 1 the whole book, and now season 2 and season 3 are going to be spinning off of that, and they're going to do a Hobbit type thing where they like expand upon the book, which I don't know how I feel. But here's the Hollywood Reporter article. They say creatives including Justin Marks, Rachel Kondo, Michaela Clavel, and Hiroyuki Sanada are all returning, as the former limited series will will compete for Emmys in the limited drama categories, so that's cool. I think it'll be nominated. It has very good production value, good storytelling. If you like Game of Thrones, Shogun is definitely the show for you because it does feel very similar in that vein. I watched the first season and a half of Game of Thrones and I enjoyed it mostly, and then the final season aired the night I was binging season 1.5 or whatever, and my brother was just like, wow, that finale was absolutely shit. All of my friends hated the final season. I was like, do I want to commit all this time just for it to go crap by the end? But I don't know, maybe I'll pick it back up again and restart it. But anyways, back to Shogun. The Disney-owned network said on Thursday that it is teaming with the estate of author James Clavell to extend Shogun for 2 additional seasons. The company noted that both seasons are in development, meaning that a 2-season renewal depends on how the creatives come in. A writer's room is being assembled and will open in the summer to explore a continuation of Shogun beyond Clavell's original novel. Shogun's creatives including co-creators, executive producers, and writers Justin Marks and Rachel Kanoto, executive producer Michaela Clavell, who is daughter of the author, granddaughter, I'm not sure, as well as star and producer Hiroyuki Sanada are all involved with the development. Shogun, which wrapped its season in late April, ranks as FX's most watched show ever based on global hours streamed. That is really impressive. I did not know that. They say that the news should come as no surprise after word leaked on May 10th that FX was indeed exploring a future beyond what many considered to be a limited series. Yeah, that was the impression I got from it, was that this is going to be a one series adaptation of the book. Like, this will be a limited series and then everybody's going to move on to other things. But it's interesting that they're going to write a series or 2 seasons after the book. I wonder, it'd be interesting to look at a list of every property that was based off of or went past the book. The Hobbit did. The Hobbit was what? The first Hobbit movie was like maybe a couple pages in one of the books. Or sorry, no, it's the book, but then 2 and 3 are based off of 1 page or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but I know that especially the third Hobbit movie is entirely original, or I'm not sure. I've seen the Hobbit trilogy once, but I've seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy a bunch of times. Let's not get into the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit stuff. I don't want to talk about those. But yeah, really interesting. Maybe if they restrict themselves a bit to 8 episodes, because I did feel like it was getting a little drawn out at times over 10 episodes. There was a few moments where I'm like, okay, I don't really care what's happening in the story here. Like, we've done this 4 episodes in a row, kind of like Masters of the Air, where it felt like we're just spinning our wheels a bit. I think 8 episodes is like the ideal length of a TV show for me. In other news, Fantastic Four, more casting news. Natasha Lyonne joins the Marvel movie. Matt Shakman is directing the forthcoming feature, adapting the iconic superhero team, The Hollywood Reporter said this week, and the actress is set to board the cast of the forthcoming Marvel Studios movie in an undisclosed role. I really love how close to the chest Marvel and Disney are playing the Fantastic Four movie. They are not letting anything leak. I mean, look, there was so many casting rumors for literally years. Like, it was like 3 years that the movie was in development, and it went through a bunch of different writers, bunch of different directors, whatever. John Watts was supposed to do it originally, who did the Homecoming trilogy, or the Spider-Man Tom Holland trilogy, for those who don't know. And it's gone to Matt Shakman now, who is very involved in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and now he is doing this. I think he does great stuff, and very interesting. It's planning to shoot midsummer in England ahead of its release date in July 2025, and so it's this summer it's starting to shoot. Yeah, there's been a few people cast in it that they're just not saying who they are, which I like. I like the mystery around it. It's kind of the same thing with Superman. We don't really know a lot of story news. We know who the characters are going to be, who the cast is, but yeah, the Fantastic Four cast, like I've said many times already, I'm really digging it. I'm loving it so far. The core 4 are really strong, and I'm really liking the supporting cast as well. Really great. I'm really loving it. Can't wait for it. And there was another, not casting news, but we finally got our first look at The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, where he transforms into MMA icon Mark Kerr in Benny Safdie's A24 drama. Really crazy picture. If you haven't looked, like, it kind of looks like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but the prosthetics look really great. And this is not like a Leonardo DiCaprio looks unrecognizable in Killers of the Flower Moon situation, and if you know that tweet, you know. This looks really interesting. So Variety reported that Dwayne Johnson is nearly unrecognizable in the first look at his upcoming A24 drama, The Smashing Machine, directed by Benny Safdie and co-starring his Jungle Cruise screen partner, Emily Blunt. The film cast Johnson as legendary MMA fighter Mark Kerr, who struggled with addiction and his marriage while becoming an icon of the sport. Blunt is starring as Dawn Staples, Kerr's wife. The film is currently in production. Another good wrestling or MMA, whatever, or MMA and wrestling the same thing. No, it's mixed martial arts. So yeah, if it's A24 and it's wrestling, I'm down. If it's sad, I loved The Iron Claw. I really want to rewatch it, but I just haven't been able to emotionally bring myself to it yet because I was talking to someone about it maybe a couple weekends ago, and I said The Iron Claw is the hardest I have cried in a theater in as long as I can remember, really. I can't remember the last time. I was maybe La La Land, but The Iron Claw, something died inside of me that day. So that looks really cool. Seriously looking forward to that. I like Benny Safdie, and I like the Safdie brothers as a directing duo, but it's cool that they're gonna go do their own things. And in more upcoming project news, Deadline this week was reporting that X-Men, a movie at Marvel Studios, has gained momentum as Michael Leslie comes on as a screenwriter. So he did the new Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and following the success of X-Men 97, it looks like they're kind of going full steam ahead with the X-Men movie, which I'm pumped about. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but next week we're going to have an X-Men spectacular where I'm going to talk about X-Men 97 because I think that show was just so phenomenal. Over the past couple weeks, I've been watching all of the X-Men movies, all 13 or whatever of them, including like Deadpool, New Mutants, and next week we're going to do a tier list podcast where I'm going to rank all of the X-Men movies. I also have a list on my Letterboxd if you want to go there, but we're going to do a tier list. I'll post the screenshot of the tier list, of course, on social media. So next week's going to be fun. I'm going to call it the X-Men Spectacular, where we will talk all things X-Men. Maybe I'll talk what I would like from the movie because, to be honest, I haven't really read any X-Men graphic novels. I'm not a huge comic book reader. I have maybe 10 like graphic novel sets or whatever, like individual books. I have a lot of Batman ones. I have like Secret Invasion, so I have some Avengers stuff, Secret Wars and Secret Invasion as well. And I have like the Infinity Gauntlet. I would like to get more into comics as I'm going. It's really, it's so hard to know where to start. And every time you Google it, it gets very overwhelming for me. So I don't know, anybody who has read graphic novels, please shoot me a message on social media. I have been looking at lists of where is the best place to start, and there's lots of X-Men. I mean, the X-Men runs are crazy. There's been cajillion X-Men different runs, and I'd love to get an omnibus. That would be really cool. But yeah, anyways, X-Men movie, it's moving forward. They have a writer. There isn't a director yet, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next few months after they have worked on the script, but this could be a few years away. So I think it will be slow development, especially with Marvel. I think we talked about last week that Marvel's kind of going to slow its roll a bit with movies, and I think they just announced this week that the TV shows aren't going to be as connected to the Marvel universe. They'll kind of just be supplementary materials that you can watch, but they're not going to be as tied into the movies. They will kind of just be other storylines that are kind of optional. You know, you don't need to catch all the TV shows. It's only the movies really that are important, which I think that's a really great idea because there shouldn't be a billion things a year that you need to watch for a shared universe. I think just the theater stuff is good. And, you know, the TV shows, whatever. They haven't done great Marvel TV shows. I think X-Men 97 is the best by so far. I think X-Men 97 is the best Marvel show. And then Loki is my second favorite, I would say. But I am excited for an X-Men movie. We also got, I think there was a full trailer, but I'm only really looked at the picture. We saw our first look at Liam Hemsworth, who's now playing Geralt in season 4 of The Witcher, and he looks fine. I've seen the video games. I've watched like YouTube videos on the video games, never played them myself, but I've been interested and thought about dabbling, but then I'm like, whatever, no, it's too many. I think I might start Spider-Man tonight, actually. But yeah, Liam Hemsworth, I mean, he looks fine. And I saw everyone online, like I was curious. I wanted to go into the comments because, you know, people love Henry Cavill, and I think he is a good actor who just has terrible agents who pick terrible films for him because he has done, for me, like one successful movie that I have really liked so far, and that is Mission Impossible Fallout. The rest of them I think have been kind of failures, like Argyle, critically panned. It was fun, but like I think he just does fun stuff that is very, I don't know how to explain it. I think him and Tom Holland both need to reassess their career paths and, you know, find new projects. But anyways, back to Liam Hemsworth. I think he looks pretty good as Geralt. Like, and as I said, I was going to comment sections. I was like, are fans mad about this? Like, are people pissed off that he was recast? And yes, people are mad that Henry Cavill is no longer going to be in the Witcher series because from what I understand, understand he was very critical of the writers and the show creators, saying we're not being faithful to the games, and they were like, we don't give a shit, we just want to make our version of this. So I feel bad for Henry Cavill, because if you sign on to a video game adaptation, you would maybe expect them to try and be respectful of the source material. But anyways, back to Liam Hemsworth. A lot of comments as well were just saying, yeah, he looks fine. He's not really reinventing the wheel. It's a pretty standard looking character, the long white hair or whatever and freaky eyes. He looks good. He's tall. He looks pretty buff. Maybe I'll binge the Witcher series. I haven't seen them. Again, I'm not huge into like fantasy, like Lord of the Rings and The Witcher, Game of Thrones. I don't know why, but every year I try to watch a genre more. So last year I tried to watch some more horror movies, because I found I was never really into horror movies, but I tried to watch more and I come to appreciate them. And I think that's the best way to kind of grow your palette of a genre, is just throw yourself in and watch kind of what's popular and try to understand why people like them. And then you kind of do get it. I wouldn't do that with country music, because I cannot stand country music, but within movies, I do find myself every year trying to look at a different genre. And I think this year I might try to watch a little bit more fantasy. Like I watched the Lord of the Rings with my diehard Lord of the Rings fans and the Hobbit movies, and I was like, look, I'm not a huge fan of these. I think they're kind of slow and meticulous, but I do acknowledge that they are good movies. Like the production value is very admirable and they're really well crafted and it's cool to see. So maybe I'll watch The Witcher and try to expand upon my palette. Final piece of news here. Just yesterday, on Friday the 24th, Knives Out 3, Rian Johnson has announced it. It's called Wake Up Dead Man, which I'm pretty sure is Wake Up Dead Man is a song by U2. So all three movies have had a title that is a song as well. I think so. Like Glass Onion, isn't that a Beatles song? And I can't remember what Knives Out is, but this one's a U2 song. Cannot really stand U2, but I hope they try to recraft this series. I love Knives Out, the first one, because it is so kind of timeless comedy. You can watch it whenever. And then you watch Glass Onion and it's so of its time. I was just talking to my friend about this yesterday because she really loves it as well. And I said the problem I had with Glass Onion is it's so specific to 2020 and so specific to that context, because it's all just referential of like 1 year. So you don't want to go back and watch it. And it just feels like it's trying to cater too much to 1 year. Whereas Knives Out, I think I've watched like 5 times, because it's so funny. It's not just trying to speak politically of 1 year. Like I get it. It's fun to make your movies like political and make fun of people in the public eye, but like the whole Glass Onion was so just COVID focused and like Zoom focused and Elon Musk focused, and this isn't fun. Like sure, I'm kind of enjoying watching this right now, but I never want to come back and watch this again. And it just felt very Netflix production. Like I loved the Knives Out. I saw it in theaters, the first one, and it felt like this is very original. I really love this murder mystery. And then you watch Glass Onion. It comes out on Netflix first of all, so you're like, I don't care. Like, okay, great. It's a straight to streaming movie. And you watch it and it just felt like, it's just another Netflix movie. Like it feels like it kind of lost the juice it had in the first one. And the third one's going to be a Netflix movie as well, which is kind of a bummer. I don't like Netflix movies in general. I find they really are just bland. Look, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. It's still a long time away. I think it comes out in like 2026 or something like that. So we will see what happens, but I wasn't a huge fan of Glass Onion. I thought it was funny, but I have never gone back and watched it. Whereas Knives Out, I think I've gone back and watched like 5 times, and I've gotten other people to watch it as well. So we'll see. But that does it for the news this week. As always, there are timestamps in the description on all of the streaming platforms and on YouTube underneath this podcast. You can bounce around if you want to skip the spoilers section and just make sure you listen to the non-spoilers, and then you can jump to what else I watched and the outro. Also, if you just want to listen to the news and you want to avoid all of Furiosa and then go straight to what else I watched after, whatever you want, there's timestamps below. I'm excited to talk about this. Especially after last week where we did the watch back of the Mad Max movies, I was very excited for this week. So let's get into it. Let's get into Furiosa. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is the latest entry in the Mad Max Saga, which we talked about last week. It is a 2024 action-adventure movie, and it is the longest Mad Max movie at 2 hours and 28 minutes. It's currently rated 89% on Rotten Tomatoes by the critics, with an audience score of 93%. Google's in a nutshell, epic, intense, and wild. It's directed, of course, by George Miller. We could not have a Mad Max movie without George Miller. It had a budget apparently of $168 million US, which I'm not sure it will fully make back or be profitable. I've seen the box office numbers and I don't think it's too great. At least it's being critically very well received. Like, it has 79 on Metascore, which is on Metacritic. It's a Warner Brothers, of course. Cinematography by Simon Dugan, edited by Margaret Sixel and Elliot Knappman. The film stars Chris Hemsworth as Dementis. We have Anya Taylor-Joy rocking it as Imperator Furiosa, who was originally played by Charlize Theron in Fury Road. Tom Burke as Praetorian Jack. We have Ayla Brown as Young Furiosa. George Shevstov as the History Man. We have another actor playing a Morton Joe. It's Lachie Holm. He's very good. It's seamless. You don't even notice. John Howard as the People Leader. He returns. And apparently he was an Australian Prime Minister, which I don't know how many people know that, but that's hilarious. Angus Sampson as the Organic Mechanic. Charlie Fraser as Mary Jabassa. Ella Pataki as Volvani General. That's Chris Hemsworth's wife, and she has 2 roles in this, or at least I'm pretty sure it's 2 roles. Nathan Jones as Rictus Erectus. Josh Hellman as Scrotus, and their names get like one of the biggest laughs in the film for me. David Field as Toe Jam. A really great cast. The synopsis is: snatched from the green place of many mothers, young Furiosa falls into the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Dementis. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the Citadel, presided over by the Immortan Joe. As the 2 tyrants fight for dominance, Furiosa soon finds herself in a non-stop battle to make her way home. So, of course, we will start with non-spoilers because I really do think people should go watch this. I think you can go and watch this without having seen any other Mad Max movie and you would still have a really fun time. But let me just start with this. George Miller, god damn it, man. He continues to kill it with this franchise. Furiosa is a blast with amazing action, awesome characters. CGI, some of it is noticeable, but it kind of goes with the aesthetic of the world of like this, I don't know, homemade kind of feel to these movies, which I really like. I don't know, it just kind of, it fits into me. This is just wonderful storytelling. This is such a different Mad Max movie that we have not had yet. The fact that it's 2 hours, 28 minutes, it's a half hour longer than anything else we've had. Mad Max Fury Road was 2 hours exactly. The first one is an hour and 29 minutes. The second one is like an hour 35. And the third one is an hour and 40 something. So he's gotten progressively longer with every film now that, you know, I don't know, maybe the budgets are bigger or whatever. He can kind of, he can afford more story to tell, which I really loved. But as per usual, I think we should start with the cast, and let's start with Anya Taylor-Joy. Fury Road, many people consider to be just like my cousin this morning just posted on his Instagram story. Fury Road is one of the best action movies of the last 15 years, perhaps ever. And I would agree with that. I think it is, he said it's the best in the last 15 years. I think it's one of the best. I have a lot of action movies I really enjoy in the last 15 years. I mean, Mission Impossible Fallout to me is also up there as like one of the best, but there's tons of them. But Anya Taylor-Joy had big boots to fill because Charlize Theron, my favorite performance from her ever probably is Mad Max Fury Road. I think she is so fucking kick-ass in that movie. So I was very nervous for Anya Taylor-Joy, but when you look at her filmography, Anya Taylor-Joy means business, and she absolutely nails it out of the park as Furiosa in this movie. Like, she has super limited lines. I can't remember what the stats are. I think she has like 16 lines or something crazy like that. I don't know, that might be capping, but she has very limited lines. Every time she speaks in this movie, you feel so, I don't know, fearful of her. And that's especially Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa. Even as a child, she has a lot of kind of rage to her, and there's just so much weight every time she speaks. But Anya Taylor-Joy as like fully grown Furiosa is one of my favorite performances this year, to be honest. I think she's so great in this, and I had such a fun time watching her explore this world. And she has said, whether you know it's true or a lifelong fan, she said she is a fan of the Mad Max movies, but she avoided talking to Charlize Theron about Furiosa before they filmed the movie, and then after, she said she went and talked to her and they kind of compared their experiences. So I really love the way she really brings herself to this role, and I really love Anya Taylor-Joy. Looking at her filmography, let's go through a couple things. She comes into the film quite later. First of all, I don't think people should expect that she's going to be like in the first frame of the movie, and that's a very different story that they're telling spoiling here, but look, she's done Super Mario Brothers, The Witch, The Menu, The Northman, Last Night in Soho, Peaky Blinders, Dune Part 2. She has an insane filmography. She is so successful. The Queen's Gambit, that was the first thing I think I saw her in, as far as I can remember. I think it was Queen's Gambit, and I was like, who is this? She is so good. And I loved Queen's Gambit. When they said, oh, we're doing a prequel to Mad Max, I think a lot of other fans were very hesitant, just like people were with when Fury Road came out. People were hesitant in general, I believe, because it took so long to get Fury Road to be made. People were like, maybe the time has come to just kind of let it go and move on to other things. You know, George Miller went and made other things. Maybe it's time for Mad Max to just kind of die out. But let me tell you, this is one of the better prequels we have had in a long time, because they don't do just the bog standard bullshit and where, oh, how did they get that one gun, and they make this huge kind of cringe moment about it. Like, they do that, but it feels earned in this story. And Anya Taylor-Joy just has such a great performance as Furiosa. She's not identical to how Charlize Theron plays it, I would say. I don't know, you can tell it's the same person, but the way they played is not the same, and that's what I really love about it, because this movie opens with a narrator, like all of the Mad Max movies do. It's no secret that there's a narrator. These are campfire stories. The way I interpret these movies is they are not all connected, except Fury Road and Furiosa are so closely tied, and that was a really cool thing, a fresh breath of air to bring into this franchise. And Anya Taylor-Joy, in a very respectful way of Charlize Theron's performance, I think they are very in sync, and I really loved her. I think brilliant casting, absolutely wonderful. I know she offered to shave her head, and they said, no, we have a wig, don't do it. She's so great in all of the scenes she is, and the actress for young Furiosa is so phenomenal as well. I was so happy with how she played it. And let's talk about our villain, Chris Hemsworth as Dementus. Look, I love Chris Hemsworth. I love every interview with him. I think he is such a funny dude. I love him as Thor. Thor Ragnarok is one of my favorite movies, and I love Chris Hemsworth. I think he is such a great Thor. He is so wonderful as Dementus. He brings such a giggly type vibe to this. He just is giggling his way maniacally through the film. He's so goofy, but he's so he can turn on at any moment. He can just turn into this lunatic. You're not sure he's being friendly and kind of talking to you, and it's a very weird vibes. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but there were two moments in the film where he actually reminded me of Heath Ledger's Joker. That they're in the middle of this action sequence, and he lets out this type of laugh that I'm like, oh, holy shit, that sounded like Heath Ledger's Joker when he's laughing when Batman's beating the shit out of him in the interrogation room. I was like, whoa, this is weird. And I'm not saying oh, he's as good as Heath Ledger, whatever. There were just very close ties that I was like, oh, I really like the villain he's playing. And that's a compliment to him. I think he is really great in this. Chris Hemsworth, I think this is maybe his career best performance. I think Thor Ragnarok is close, though. I think he is so wonderful in that movie, and this is very close for me. It's between these two. I absolutely loved him as our villain. Is he my favorite Mad Max villain? Dementus? Maybe. Because who's, I don't know, Immortan Joe is the Fury Road villain, but I'm not really into Fury Road because of the villains. I like the action and the heroes of the story, whereas Furiosa, I'm way more in it because of the villains. I find the villains so interesting in this, and I find Dementus, he's this weird parent kind of vibe to Furiosa as a child, and it's really strange how much he tries to show that he cares for her, and it's really odd, but he's so evil in this. And this is it's a messed up movie. There's some actual gruesome shit that happens, and of course we see Furiosa lose her arm. That's not a spoiler. You'd see her putting on the metal arm in the trailer, so that's a pretty brutal sequence how that happens, but I'll save that for spoilers. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, really great. His prosthetics are hilarious, and his voice is hilarious. Really great actor. He kind of goes through these color changes in the film. He starts as just Dementus, and then he turns into the Great Dementus, and then he's Red Dementus, and then the Dark Dementus or whatever, and it's just really great. I think he gives a really great performance. He's one of the best villains this year, as well as Fade Rotha. I think we're having a really good year of villains, which is just really fun. His wife is also very good in this. She plays two roles, and it's just badass. This is very niche, but Sean Millis, if people know who he is, he's this Australian singer, but he also did these songs about a Manchester United player. So any sports fan, any soccer fans might know this, but he's in this movie as a war boy, and when he showed up, my head shot back. But really cool. I don't follow him on social media, and he's been posting that he is in this movie and sharing photos of him in it, so I had no clue going into it. But anyways, the cast is fantastic. It wouldn't be a Mad Max movie without weird goons and strange people in this film, and this one just kind of ups the ante. We get weirder than ever in this one. Fury Road has like really strange villains and really does grow on the weirdness of Thunderdome, but Furiosa is just such a great continuation of that. And like I was saying, this is the longest Mad Max we've had, and this is the most fleshed out Mad Max story we have had. 2 hours and 28 minutes is very different from a 90-minute brisk movie. And if you go back to that first Mad Max movie, it is a quite, I don't know, fleshed out story. Like, you do get all of the family aspects, but Furiosa is very different. This is a prequel that takes place over 15 years. When she is a child, as you see in the trailer, there's a young Furiosa and she gets abducted, and you see the story of her and her mother, that's what it opens the film, and that is one of the great sequences this year. I absolutely love that. That's going to stick with me. Her mother, played by Charlie something. Well, they are absolutely amazing as Furiosa's mom. Just such a force to be reckoned with. I'll talk more about spoilers with that. But story-wise, this is just a really great film. If you're expecting Fury Road, you shouldn't, because Fury Road is like one long action sequence, and that's enjoyable in its own right, but this is very different. This is a really fun backstory exploration of this character that we got to know over the 2 hours of Fury Road that interacts with our hero Max. And like I said, this is such a great prequel. I've been kind of sick of prequels recently because a lot of them feel like they're just kind of doing fan servicey shit, but this felt like a very good balance. There's a couple moments where I'll talk about in spoilers that you're like, oh yeah, that's one for the fans for sure. But most of this is just, if you've seen Fury Road, you will really enjoy this because it's like, oh cool, that's how that came to be. And this one shows a lot more background and provides a lot more background, and a lot more context to Fury Road, which is really cool. I don't think that's a spoiler to say because it is a prequel to Fury Road, like they have said, and it's a prequel to the character in Fury Road. So really great. Like, I feel like a double feature of watching Furiosa and then starting Fury Road right away after would be so mind-blowing, and I'll talk more about that in spoilers. I think this is just a really good script. It provides adequate background, and, you know, Mad Max movies, like I said last week, are known to just be one situation that Max finds himself in playing out over 90 minutes. Like, we only have one subplot, or no subplots, and just like one story that we're following for 90 minutes. When this one feels a much larger world that we're following, and there's much more happening, but it's still very Furiosa focused, which I really enjoy. But we do get other character moments, which is really interesting, and I enjoyed that. It's like George Miller is not afraid to kind of break the formula a little bit of these movies, which we haven't seen yet. So I really like that. And sitting in the theater after having watched the first 4 over a weekend, I was just very happy. Wow, this is really cool to see. However many years, 45 years since the original Mad Max, that George Miller is still finding a way to reinvent this franchise and think, where else can we go with this? And I believe we are getting another Mad Max movie. I think they've talked about doing one called The Wasteland, and it is a Max, like an actual Max story, not Furiosa or anyone else. Like, it's actually about Max himself, so that could be really cool. Like I said, the script is really great for this film. Are there any nitpicks? Not for me personally. I walked out of this and I really didn't have any issues. There were not. Some people said that they found the start a little slow. I didn't. I actually loved the opening scene, everything with young Furiosa at the start, because it does take place chronologically. We're not going back and forth really in the timeline. It is just a straight linear story, which I really liked. And yeah, just a great script that has cool Easter eggs from all the Mad Max movies and stuff like that, which I'll talk about in spoilers. I'll let people enjoy those organically. And one thing that I really like about this film that we haven't seen, and like this goes into George Miller not being afraid to reinvent this franchise, is the film follows chapters. There's 5 or 6 chapters in this film, all with their own like titles and like kind of sections of her life. And I really love that. And all the titles, which I can't remember, but I just remember every time they popped up, I was like sat there thinking about the title for a second and like, oh, I really do like that. And again, I just really admire George Miller and the writers for not being afraid to try and kind of shake up the formula of these movies a little bit. Fury Road felt like a totally different beast from the first 3. And the third one, like I said last week, was very different from 1 and 2 of Mad Max, but that was for other kind of more personal reasons. Whereas this one, it kind of feels like George Miller's ready to take another step and see where can we go with these. And you see this play out throughout the writing of the film, and I just really enjoyed that. But even though there are, reinventions and new things, we do get classic Mad Max things that I really loved. It wouldn't be a Mad Max movie without the weird goons, without great action and the desert, but most of all, a war rig sequence. We get a truck sequence. It's in the trailers, as you see. So goddamn awesome. I really enjoyed it. It's obviously not as great as Fury Road. That's a very high bar to reach, and that's nothing wrong with this film. It is not this film's fault at all. That is just Fury Road is a very, I think Fury Road is going to have a very untouchable podium for a long time within action movies, and it's very hard to reach those heights in a normal film. But this one, I think it does a great job, and I was not disappointed with these points. Like, Fury Road is a very pedal to the metal. That's pretty good. That could be a Mad Max title, like Mad Max, a pedal to the metal, a Mad Max Saga, or something like that. Anyways, Fury Road is a very like one sequence type film where you feel like it's just nonstop action, and we do have like a couple moments in Fury Road where we do take a little breath to breathe and understand our characters. But what I like about Furiosa is we really do get times to just sit back and kind of contemplate and understand our characters and have kind of quieter moments. And it's very weird to see within the Mad Max world because we don't get that too often, but I really enjoyed it. It feels earned a lot of the time. It's not like boring to me, like, okay, get back to the action. Perhaps maybe the only thing that I wasn't huge on, or I don't know. Actually, I didn't hate it, but the soundtrack was like, it was fine. I think I love the soundtrack of the trailers, but I wish we kind of got a bit more of what was in the trailers. And it's fine. It's effective. I think it's still good. I think it's Junkie XL who did the soundtrack. I'm not sure. It's still good, but it's not quite Fury Road good. So let me just get overall thoughts here. I want to get into spoilers soon, but let's do some overall, and then I have a couple letterbox reviews I want to read. This feels like a whole new direction for the Mad Max saga. If you just like action movies, I do think you can watch this one without knowing anything about the Mad Max movies, and I think you would still enjoy it, to be honest. Like, maybe the ending might be a little confusing. I won't say anything, but this is still a very good standalone movie. And the great thing about all these movies are just like mythos about the Mad Max and their fireside stories. So you can watch any of them and kind of just pick them up and have it as its own thing. And you would kind of get that it's this weird, desert wasteland type thing. Like they do the classic in every Mad Max movie where they explain that society collapsed, etc., etc. I really like this. I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. It is my third favorite movie of the year. Dune Part 2 is still my favorite. Challenger second, and Furiosa is my third. I really love this, and I would totally go back and see it again in IMAX. It was a really great IMAX experience. Some of the sound mixing was a little off. I wasn't like, oh, okay, it's not the best sound design we've had in these movies, but it was still really good. Like Fury Road had amazing sound design, and I feel like that was maybe the only thing that was kind of a letdown, but that's more just, I don't know. It's still like a really great quality movie, and I've really enjoyed it. I highly recommend people go and see it because it's totally worth it. You're gonna have a fun night at the movies. It's a good summer action popcorn flick. I hope it gets more than 2 weeks in theaters before it's on video on demand, because I'm so sick of these movies getting a 2-week run in theaters and then they yank them. It's like, dude, let word of mouth kind of do its thing. Yeah, I have a few letterbox reviews I want to read now. Tyler gave it 5 stars and said, never ever mess with a woman during her buzz cut era. Yeah, Furiosa is absolutely psycho in this. Jesse said, it's Furiosa, not Furiosa. It's so funny because during the movie, I thought that in my head like 40 times. And then I just went through Letterboxd reviews trying to find that. And I was like, thank God someone said it. Zoe gave it 4.5 stars. She said, Christ Hemsworth. Yeah, he's so good in this movie. Like, I think it is a career best. I'm starting to think this is as high as he's gotten so far because he is so phenomenal in this. But I still think Thor Ragnarok is maybe tied. Reese gave it 4.5 stars. He said, by the halfway point, I stopped counting how many times I said, holy shit to myself out loud. All right, that has been non-spoilers. There's timestamps below if you want to skip the spoilers section and just jump to what else I watched this week because I have lots to talk about there as well. So, a few spoilers. Mad Max shows up in this very briefly. We get, after Furiosa severs her arm and has to walk the desert to get back to the Citadel, we get this long pan out shot and Max is parked with the Interceptor is what it's called, I think. He's parked on top of like this sand dune and she's walking behind the dune. So it's not shown, but to me, I understood that as he drove her to the Citadel, possibly, like he sees her. Really cool. We don't see who the actor is, but it looks like a young Max. Yeah, just a really fun Easter egg. It didn't feel like forced or anything. It was just a very nice fan moment where you're like, holy shit, Mad Max is in this. And another great moment was, I'm pretty sure it's Charlize Theron at the end that shows up. So the ending of the movie literally leads right into the night where Fury Road starts, like sneaking all the wives into the war rig and the events of Fury Road. And the credits are showing Fury Road. Like the credits are showing different clips of Fury Road. That's why I said a double feature with this movie and Fury Road right after is perfect, because I love how it just leads right into Fury Road. Like the ending goes straight into it. Her mom, the starting scene with her mother, is such a great chase sequence where Furiosa is abducted and the mother steals a bike from one of these Dementis' creeps and follows them. She's sick with a sniper rifle. She's magnificent. It's so great, but her death scene is so heartbreaking. I was actually so sad, and it's brutal. They're torturing her like over a fire, and then Furiosa's watching, and it's very disturbing. But this is a very kind of gruesome Mad Max movie, to be honest. There is a lot of gross stuff in this, like there's bugs and cannibalism or whatever, harvesting stuff. I don't know, it's very gross. And actually, I want to talk more about the arm severing, because the way prequels a lot of the time do it in such heavy-handed ways, oh, no pun intended, because she loses her arm, how they do, these heavy-handed, like Han Solo getting his blaster, and it's like, really? That's how he got it? They were sitting by a fire and some dude just throws him a gun? They kind of do that in this, where she gets her, like, shotgun that she uses in Fury Road, but it doesn't feel stupid in the moment. Yeah, she needs a gun right now because they're about to drive into battle, so it makes sense. And she and the other dude, what's his name, John or whatever, are being, I can't remember, he's good though, he's kind of like a Mad Max type. She has got her arm caught between her car and Dementis' tire, and it rips her arm wide open, and then they hang her by her arm, so it's slowly ripping as they're torturing the other dude and making him like run behind a car until he dies. And she escapes by just tearing her arm off, and it's so disgusting. They don't notice that she runs away, and then when they go to see her, it's kind of like in Deadpool actually, where he cuts off his own arm and then they look at it. Yeah, it's just her hand hanging there in a handcuff, and it's really gross. So I like that. That was a cool way to explain how she loses her arm and why she has a metal arm. If she was being tortured, she probably thought, I'm going to lose this arm anyways. So she just rips it off and runs away. And speaking of brutality, the ending of this movie, what happens to Dementis? Furiosa does not pull her punches. So she does the same thing. They have like this really great standoff where she's caught him and keeps threatening to like execute him, but she just keeps taunting him. And that's where, he gives the line, do you have what it takes to make it epic? It's really great. It's such an awesome scene. But she has the idea as well to just drag him kind of behind the car as well. And then instead of killing him, she has this peach pit from the Land of Abundance where she grew up. And her mother told her, take this pit and you're going to plant it wherever, get back to the Land of Abundance or whatever. So I really like the use of this peach pit throughout the entire movie, that she always keeps it with her, like in her hair. And every time we see her repeatedly pull it out and she's reminded of her mother. Well, she takes Dementis and this peach pit and she takes him back to the Citadel and plants a peach tree inside of him. So there's a tree growing out of Dementis, and it's really gross and freaky, but it's a pretty brutal ending and like pretty badass. So instead of just like executing him, like that's no fun, just killing them, it's not going to solve anything. So she keeps him alive, but basically uses him as fuel for a tree. I don't know. I really like the resolution in the story at the end, that she's like, bring them back, and she keeps just beating the shit out of Dementis and being like, bring my mother back and stuff like that. Killing him isn't going to solve anything, and nothing's going to bring them back. So it's just a very great tense scene where you can see she's struggling emotionally, and it's just Anya Taylor-Joy is phenomenal at the end when she's saying, I want them back, and all that. The great dialogue that we hear in the trailer as well. It hits so hard in the movie, especially after everything that we've seen. So seriously loved it. I like the use of, she tattoos this star constellation map on her arm so she can get back to the Land of Abundance, and so she can map out the desert until she has to cut off that arm, and then she loses the tattoo. So, you're kind of wondering what's going to happen with this arm the entire movie. She loses that arm eventually. Is she going to know where to go and like write down the map before? But no, she has to cut off her arm, and that explains why in Fury Road she doesn't know where the Land of Abundance is. Yeah, lots of cool Easter egg moments and stuff like that. Like the ending is literally just a kind of a time lapse of her in the Citadel, and then, as I said, you see her helping Immortan Joe's wives into the war rig of Fury Road, and it leads so wonderfully into Fury Road. I seriously love that. Yeah, we're gonna do a prequel, and it's gonna lead directly into our movie. It's kind of like Rogue One, that it's a prequel and leads right into A New Hope, and it's just really cool. There's so many great twists and turns in this movie. I really love the script. The deaths are all so brutal, and the use of Immortan Joe versus Dementis, the bullet farm chase that you see, and the death of the other dude that she's with is just, there's a lot of brutal shit in this movie, and I really loved it. It's great storytelling. I'm very happy. Having watched all of these movies for Watch or Watch Back and then seeing Furiosa, I have to say I'm a big fan of the Mad Max movies now. I really admire these, and this is a franchise that I could go back and watch, especially with how short they are. Like, you could binge them all in a weekend. The longest one is 2.5 hours, and it's the last movie. So you could watch the first 4 in a day, enjoy it on your Saturday, and then you watch Furiosa on the Sunday. They're short movies other than Furiosa. So I really enjoy these. I'm very happy with how Furiosa turned out, and I seriously hope we do get more of these. I hope they do the Wasteland movie. I think there is more story to tell in this universe, and keep telling. It doesn't feel like they've milked this for all it is, and I think as long as George Miller's the only one making these movies, I think they should fully go ahead and invest in more Mad Max movies, whether it's prequels or sequels or just, like, spin-off stuff. Really great. 4 out of 5 stars for me, definitely. Enjoyed it so much. Let's get into what else I watched this week, because there is a lot. Okay, I watched a lot in the last week. I was visiting my girlfriend. Last weekend, we watched the entire series of Baby Reindeer. Freaky as hell, super sad, a very tough watch. But for like a Netflix series, it was good, and I really enjoyed it. It's well done. It does feel very typical Netflix production, like it's a lot of the same, type of directing and cinematography, and it just looks like a Netflix show. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, this looks very peak Netflix. But I also watched the X-Men 97 finale, which I will save my thoughts for next week. We watched Back to the Future. That movie is so timeless for me. I kind of don't like that they use sexual assault of Marty's mom as like a plot point. That's kind of, every time I watch that part, I'm like, I'm not a big fan of this. They could have probably found a way to write the story of Marty's dad being a hero in another manner, that Biff doesn't have to sexually assault Marty's mom, and Marty doesn't have to sexually assault his own mom or harass her. It's just really weird to watch that, and I'm not a big fan of that part, but otherwise, that is just a classic film, Back to the Future. I also watched Deadpool. I watched X-Men Apocalypse. Again, I'm going to save my thoughts of all the X-Men stuff for next week. Deadpool is still pretty funny to me. X-Men Apocalypse, did not like it. And a couple of new things that I watched this week. I watched The Idea of You with Nicholas Galitzine, or however you pronounce his name, and Anne Hathaway. Really weird movie. It's like based off of a fanfic of Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde. Really odd subject matter. Like, if you're going to write a film based off a fanfic of a celebrity couple, you may as well just make a movie about the celebrity couple. Just a really strange movie, and after I was like, what is the point of this? Like, I understand the criticism of women in Hollywood, that if an older woman in Hollywood has a relationship with a younger male star, everyone gives her shit for it. Whereas, all the time, older dudes in Hollywood are absolutely fine to have girlfriends half their age or wives half their age, and nobody bats an eye. So I did like the messaging behind the movie in general, but it's just a very weird story. And I also hate when they do like fake pop stars in movies. It was hard to listen to the fake One Direction. I was like, oh, this is so cringe to watch. Also watched a really cute and sad movie last night called The Greatest Hits. It's on Disney Plus Hulu. The basic premise is this woman lost her boyfriend, played by David Corn Sweat, Superman. I've never watched anything with him before. I thought he was so great in it, and I was like, I'm actually excited to see him as Superman. But basically the premise is that she lost him in a car accident. She was in a coma for a week, and after that, every time she's listened to the music that they used to listen to, she goes back in time, and she can see herself in, she's back in time where they first heard that song. So it's a really cool, like, time travel romantic movie, and it's really sad as well. It was okay. I think they don't explain the logistics of the time travel enough. Like, it's very confusing. So is it just like any music she listens to? Because there's times where she's in public listening to music and it's fine. It was just kind of confusing, but I think the story is really cool in general. And then last night I went to the theaters and we saw Hitman with Glenn Powell, my guy. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to save my thoughts for the June 10th episode. It's out on Netflix in 2 weeks, so I'm going to wait to do my episode on Hitman until after it's on Netflix on June 7th, so the Monday following that will be a Hitman episode. I'll just quickly say I really liked it, and here's the big thing I want to get into, the Survivor 46 finale. I can't remember the last season of Survivor, especially in this new era, that had so much drama online with the cast, so much beef this season. I think this is probably my favorite new era season. I just really liked a lot of the cast, and, you know, there was a lot of people giving each other shit and stuff like that, but now they're all very friendly. Like, before I'm recording this episode, Hunter on the cast just did like a trivia competition between a bunch of the castmates, and they all seem to be getting along very well. Like, they're all very cordial and nice. But the big thing from the finale is, I'll talk about a couple things. First of all, in the final immunity challenge, second final, the final 5 immunity challenge, Liz helps Kenzie win by going and grabbing her board so she can solve this final puzzle. And I'm very conflicted about it, because I was listening to Tyson's podcast, and he was talking about the finale with Cody from season 43. And Cody made a good point that, like, you know, from a sportsmanship perspective, in swimming, you don't go into another lane and help a swimmer or whatever, because you get disqualified. You know, it's just like kind of sticking to your own physical puzzle pieces and stuff like that. So I kind of get the issues morally with that, of touching other people's equipment for helping them, because you're supposed to stick to your own equipment. But look, production didn't have an issue with it. And then I understand Tyson's perspective as well, that he made a good point. It is, Survivor has always been a social and political game. And if someone is willing to give up their puzzle progress, realize I'm dead in the water, I'm going to help this other person, that's fine. It's allowed. Jeff would have said no helping. If they had an issue with it, they would have said, Liz, you're out, you're disqualified, no helping, you can't touch other people's things. But Liz pulls it out of the bag for Kenzie. They vote out Maria, who then subsequently at Final Tribal gives Kenzie her winning vote, who Maria was Charlie's ride or die from the first episode along with Ben. And she told Charlie, if you go to the final, you have my vote. You absolutely have my jury vote. Instead, she's bitter. She votes for Kenzie. Kenzie wins 5-3 on votes. And if she had voted for Charlie, it would have been a 4-4 tie. And Ben, the third place person, or the finalist with the least amount of votes, would have been the tiebreaker. And he has said multiple times, I would have voted for Charlie. So Maria cost Charlie $1 million, and Maria had a very strange villain season. I feel bad for her though, because she is being harassed awfully online. In fact, a lot of the cast is, which, look, these people, they're on a reality show. You don't know them. The show is so heavily edited and catered to be a story. You really don't know these people. Just today, Kenzie, the winner, she's posted multiple times on her Instagram, people, please stop coming to my salon. Please stop coming to my place of business. And today she had to post like 5 stories saying, like, stop giving hate to the other contestants as well and ruining their lives, texting them, finding their phone numbers, shit like that. That's so creepy. I totally understand talking about stuff online and being like, oh, I don't really get why they did that, and being like, oh, it's kind of shitty of them to do that. But these are people on a reality show. You don't know them. You know the story that's been crafted of them for this television show, but you don't know the real them. So it's hard to hate a person. Well, you know, there's people that do shitty, gross things on these shows that it's kind of unforgivable, but voting for someone should not give you the power to be hated or whatever. It shouldn't cost you all this public perception. And the winner of the show shouldn't have to deal with people coming to her salon where she works, the business she owns. And now, like, people feel like they have this parasocial relationship with these people and deserve to go and see them in person. But anyways, 46 was a phenomenal season of Survivor. I watched a lot of stuff this week, and I'm excited for next week, where we're going to get into X-Men. And I think that about does it for episode 19, Furiosa. I gotta say, I had a lot of fun. Furiosa was a really great watch, and I hope people go and watch it. Give it a chance. If you don't watch the Mad Max movies as well, I think you can enjoy it. As per usual, if you can, rate and review this show. 5 stars on all your podcast places where you stream. You have Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, the Acast website and player. Give it 5 stars. Share it with a friend. Tell your friends to listen to it for this exciting film discussions and television discussions and entertainment discussions. You can also subscribe, like, and comment on the YouTube page as well. What did you think of Furiosa? What's a reality show? I'm curious. What reality shows are people actually consistently watching every year? Because I feel like reality shows are such a streaming thing now that it's like Love is Blind and all this stuff. But Survivor is still very much a network show, and I absolutely love it. Subscribe, like, comment on the YouTube. If you can't, hit the notification bell so you know every time there's new videos. I post a lot of shorts on YouTube as well and on my social media. Rate and review 5 stars, as I said. You can email the show, watcherofallthings@gmail.com. Let me know what you thought of Furiosa. Let me know your favorite reality shows. Follow the Instagram page of the show at watcherofallthings. Post lots of stuff on there, lots of stories and news and stuff like that. And I post little snippets and different videos. Follow the TikTok as well, watcher.of.allthings. Follow me on Letterboxd, KikiJ70. That's KIKIJ70. All of these links will be below, as well as the timestamps as well. Last week I talked about Save the Children, and I want to highlight another great charity that's happening for the crisis in Gaza at the moment. This one is called Pass the Hat, and you might be aware of it from TikTok and social media. So Pass the Hat is an initiative created by comedian Erin Hadimer, where she assigns families from Operation Olive Branch's spreadsheet. Operation Olive Branch is a grassroots collective effort committed to amplifying Palestinian needs such as rebuild, evacuation, and providing direct aid through our OOB perinatal project partners. While waiting for a family to be assigned via hashtag Pass the Hat, you can also go directly to the Operation Olive Branch spreadsheet here, link in the Google Forms, and choose a family. We recommend the currently heating tab. If you feel overwhelmed by the spreadsheet, please check out the other action items on the spreadsheet as well, such as account recovery, donation partners, small businesses, and raffles, as well as mutual aid. So I, of course, will leave a link in the description. Really great work, and I love the initiatives that are happening. Thank you all once again. Americans, I hope you enjoy your long weekend. I enjoyed my long weekend last weekend for Victoria Day. Next week, the X-Men Spectacular, where we'll be talking X-Men 97, and I will be doing a tier list ranking of all the X-Men movies. I hope you have a wonderful week. Be free, my butterflies. Enjoy yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.